Hello everyone, my name is John Alexis Guerra-Gomez and I'm with Northeastern University, and in this short presentation I'm going to talk about our paper Lessons Learned Building a Low-Cost Do-It-Yourself Tactile Graphics and Conducting a Tactile Drawing Club in Colombia during COVID-19. This is work that was done in collaboration with my wife, Fernanda Zuniga-Zabala, who's representing Tactile. And if you want to find more information about this paper, please visit tactile.com/drawing club. The first thing that we have to talk when talking about this drawing club is the importance of drawing. Researchers in the past have found that drawing plays a crucial role in education and the development of human thinking. However, maybe because we know that sight it's a leading element in drawing, many visually impaired and blind people have restrained themselves from drawing. However, we also know from researchers like Kennedy and Likova that the parts of the brain that are in charge of the spatial reasoning and of identifying shapes and forms and things like that can be reached by means of the sense of touch. Therefore, it's actually a pity that many blind people just are unaware of the benefits of drawing and don't incorporate it in their lives. So to address that, we came up with a remote tactile drawing club from which we want to share some of our experiences. This is an event that happens once a month, and then in there participants have to pre-register, visually impaired and blind people, and they will get via mail materials so they can draw, and also tactile graphics of different masterpieces that were selected specifically for that session. The whole idea is that first we explore the tactile graphic, the masterpiece, and then in the second part, participants actually try to copy that by drawing it themselves. In terms of numbers, these clubs have been run 13 times, once per month, as I mentioned, which has benefited 27 blind and visually impaired people from 9 different cities in Colombia. This is at the time of this recording. And we have adapted 17 different masterpieces that are listed on a table that is displayed on the slide and that you can also find on the paper as table 1. This includes pieces that are from monuments, photographies, pieces of art, even drawings, illustrations, and even graffitis. Now, we want to share some of the lessons that we learned doing this club. And in the paper, we list 12 of them, but I'm going to show you a handful of them in here. The very first one is that we created a very low-cost tactile drawing technique that uses a silicone placemat in which you put a regular piece of paper, and just using a ballpoint pen, whatever you draw in there, if you apply enough force, can be seen with your eyes as well as with your hands. And all of this happens in the same face of the paper where you're drawing. So this gives a extreme difference to other techniques in the sense that you don't have to flip the paper to see the results, and therefore you can actually check how your drawing is going if you're a blind person. Apart from that, this is extremely low cost, which is under $3, which is orders of magnitude cheaper than the current alternatives out there. Now, we also share how to learn how to do tactile drawings. And the key in here is that participants have found that by doing the actual drawings, by getting into it and jumping into the whole experience, they were able to actually start producing quite interesting results. And then the fact that they can duplicate or copy these masterpieces have reinforced their confidence on producing this. And actually in this slide, we are showing a picture of a collage of 12 different examples of the original masterpiece generated by us using the tactile graphic technique, and then the actual tactile drawing that participants created, which are actually quite impressive. Now, speaking of those tactile graphics, we created a technique that we call the Stencil embossing contour line technique that generates these type of stencils that are created just by using a regular low-cost cutting machine and then by using like Braille paper or like a bond paper of like a little bit of like 115 grams and a regular stylus, like embossing stylus. You can emboss like different graphics that are then sent for the participants. And here it's hard to see because this specific one doesn't have ink on it. More details on this specific technique can be found on the paper, but can be very useful for producing the 15 to 20 pieces that we have to produce monthly and send to the participants so they can participate in the club. It also has the characteristic of producing high quality tactile graphics that share like the same, like it's a standard across all of the different copies, which is what we want for this. Now, in terms of recommendations for leading the club, like one of the most important things is to be extremely descriptive. Since you are doing this remotely, we have to spend a significant amount of time trying to lead and help visually impaired people to follow the characteristics of the tactile graphic. Then we develop like some warm-up techniques that helps them loosen their hands. And we start asking them to share the progress that they have been doing with their drawings. And we share feedback on that by they start enabling their cameras, and then we can tell them how they're doing and what are the characteristics that we find on those pieces, given that these are done with the tactile drawing technique that can be using ink as well as tactile drawing. They can also share their best experiences and many other things. It's important also to give context on the history of the different masterpieces and many others that I'm not going to go into detail because we don't have enough time in here, but I will refer you to the paper for that. But I want to say that we ran a small survey with 13 participants, and in there we found that all of the participants either stayed or increased their self-perceived drawing capacity. And they also found that they care more for drawing and started drawing more in their lives. So the main contributions of this work are the 12 different lessons that we found applying these remote tactile drawing clubs that include the low-cost drawing technique, the stencil embossing technique, and also the different recommendations on how to run this type of tactile drawing clubs. And once again, if you want more information, please read our paper or go to the website betactile.com/drawing club, where you can find all of the details of our work. And thank you very much.